Yesterday, the market crashed with the fear of a possible world war. Today, as that goes down, you're watching the price slowly coming back up. So yes, crypto market is not a great hedge for fear. We can actually see things clearly. Like it shows that when gold and other things go up, this thing was coming back down here, right? Especially when you do look at the fear, it doesn't go well. Right now, you see some sort of relief and the price is pushing higher, and you do understand what they are preparing for. Now, just a thought, bulls just got liquidated. Now, what if bears are going for the same? Now, this is actually a big amount, right? Are they going to try and grasp that amount of liquidity? Because the market usually behaves that way. The moment we got a World War III thought process of fear, the market dropped. Now that's kind of over. What should we be looking at? Now, don't go a 10x, 50x long from here, because what if this kind of a leg comes into the picture? Last time we played this pattern, we had this scenario, the double bottom on the RSI and the price, which is a divergence. Now, at that time, you need to look for this pattern too. The first leg was here in the MACD cross. The next leg happens to be the reversal. So that is now saying, so the MACD is saying, no, I'm going for a reversal. RSI is saying I'm trending back up, but I need a breakout. What do I mean? Price action kind of right now shows you we have a resistance. We need to break that, especially when you look at XRP and how things are moving out, especially in the altcoin market side. There are some things which we need to discuss further. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. When we look through all these scenarios which we just came last like 1 month, there was a lot of thought process like this. We had a negative divergence, we needed to correct back down, and this was like 1 month back, where we shared the thought process of we have something like this, we need to see a drop. Even when you're prepared, looking at this as a range, just below 60 as a major support, price can still manipulate you. Yes, we took the dry powder out because we saw something is not looking good, but this move came in late. It didn't play out back then, it just played out last 2 days with all the volatility coming back in. So the upside in the Bitcoin dominance just happened. Now, if we look at all of what we have been talking for last 2-3 months, if we zoom a little bit out, all of them are still valid. That's great. When we come on to the short to medium term structure, that's where there is some change, some volatility. Remember when we talked about this scenario? We'll get a lot of volatility, a choppy move. Now we are getting that. The deviation, however, is in this leg. Instead of going up to hit this range before it dropped to this leg, this guy didn't make it to that high. It barely made a new high, testing this pattern itself and getting down. Yes, agreed, 100%, that was a new cycle pushing the panic in. But the range which we were discussing from that time is still valid. Instead of initially dropping to these levels, we held this particular level and went back up. But because we didn't clean this range, it didn't go higher. It got rejected at this point, which was actually a great thing. But the panic move kind of pushed it to the downside till this range. Because we didn't touch this range to the upside, there was no enough buyers to be liquidated to reach 56. As of now, we are watching that range play out. Now, what would that mean? Because we don't have this high or this low. That means potentially what we are going to look forward to is the actual thought process which we were sharing here. That bounce off to the upside. Now, why though, right? If you are looking through such a scenario and you are looking through a lot of different stuff, at that point, this comes into the picture. Clearly, we don't have a negative divergence yet on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin matters a lot because we just saw Bitcoin dropping 5% and altcoins getting obliterated, right? So in that sense, Bitcoin is still above the all-time highs range. So that's the 2021 cycle I'm talking about. We're still above that. We have not yet delivered a negative divergence. Last time, yeah, we did get the 1 on the weekly, then the 2 on the monthly. It was like a textbook pattern. This time around, it can be a lot more choppier, for sure. But this is a possible movement I'm looking at. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think this has a lot of possibilities. Think about this. Each time we had a high before we dropped, a local high, a fake out, whatever you call. This time we did not get that. So what if we're going to repeat the same on the macro, not on the micro, because the news cycle took over? Because say right now when you're in the market, you're watching like, these coins starting to bounce back up, say even the meme coins, right? Yesterday we had the thought process share like 24 hours back saying, watch, I think this guy may actually bounce back up. Now the price is here. It came back with the bounce. So the negative divergence even on the macro here, which was like a 2-hour chart on a micro, played out well. Same bullish divergence also now is playing out. So there's a lot of price action happening, which we may have to look for. Now say, if you're looking precisely at XRP and you're like, okay, this doesn't look good, agreed, the drop is big. But then we try to put things into perspective. What's the average drop of last cycle? It's kind of 50%. What's the average drop this time around? 45, 47%. Okay, cool. That means we're still above in the accumulation zone, which is a positive thing. And there is few assets, as I shared in the group, just like this with a lot of details so that you guys are not missing things. Because there are things like this, which now looks like, okay, we had some idea, but we didn't play that perfectly. And the market, the war, and a lot of things played out in between, sure. But the market right now shows you the odds of it staying above the accumulation just with a lot of other assets. But those assets which are clearly holding on to that resistance as a support has a higher odds of pushing much, much more to the upside. Now, the concerning part, however, when you do look at these and you understand that possibility, is fine. We are watching this. But what about the dominance? Where are we now? And that plays into the altcoin market clearly, one way or the other, you can actually look through it. The short-term breakout is still valid there, it's still trying to push to the upside. Then the question becomes like, okay, how high can we really go? Like, do we have a lot of room? And that's where we have to put things clearly into the perspective. We go higher here, we make that a perfect touch, we make this, and we reach somewhat close to 58, 57, 58 is a huge resistance in the dominance. So if that trend line sits well, that means we are really close to that reversal in Bitcoin dominance. And remember, before the local bounce started, we shared the thought process clearly, saying we are getting this, the negative divergence, right? This was going up, the RSI was going down, which kind of delivered a short-term relief for the markets, right? Right now, we have that short-term relief in the market. But think about this. When you go into the safe haven assets, this is what we are watching. Why is that? Instead of the World War III fear and this guy going nuts to the upside, it came down because that is now concluded. If we get some escalations after this, okay, for sure, there's going to be some more confusion in the market. There's going to be a lot more of volatility involved. But one thing, with this, what we are watching in the gold is such a scenario which shows on a short term, whether we are a bull on the gold or not, there is a bit of corrective movement coming. Maybe it's just a little bit, but that's a 3-day chart. That's a daily chart showing you that. The moment you go on to the 3-day chart, you're still going up. The moment you're on a weekly chart, you're still parabolic, which means the literal movement here is going to be a micro correction, and then you may go back up. Remember, we did not actually get a clear retest here. We broke higher, we went up. This would be a good range. So now, to look at this, to say, okay, this top was when? July 2020. This bottom in gold was when? March 2021. Remember when crypto really did top off? This range. This was that range. You saw a lot of altcoins running. So gold did its micro leg run to the upside from the breakout here. It came up, it consolidated. So this move was great for altcoin market. Perfect. Okay, that's the story of 2021. Now, if we look at the current scenario, say for example, we actually got a very decent ride during this time, which was really good. And then, even when gold was going up, crypto did run up. That was a bit of confusing movement. But now, then you zoom a little bit out, you want to look for 2017. What does the gold show us, right? And here we are, right now sitting and saying, okay, there should be some kind of corrective movements happening in gold. So when we do look at the top here, the wave 3 in crypto market, which kind of, played out with this corrective leg. So that entire wave structure, 30, 40, 50x, even XRP went 30x during that time, played out while gold was in a corrective leg. The prior movement in the crypto market, if you remember, was like May, June, July, right? You can pick up the chart and see the same. Now, that was another same corrective leg in the gold market. So if that's all true, and here we are watching for a possible leg like this in the gold. So during that time, what should we expect in the crypto market? That's where I think we have some great room to the upside. One of the other reasons is gold is still here at the top. It was a safe haven asset, or it is a safe haven asset. The war and the thought process is concluded. So by that time, it shaked the entire crypto market. So you are now getting what? You move that into a line chart and you're looking at this. Okay, so we had the breakout. We did this. Textbook pattern. Are we going to play that clearly? Maybe not. Maybe you'll get this kind of a move, right? We've seen such moves in the market. We zoom out, we'll actually see such moves in the market. So that means we're still waiting for such a upside. Now, if you have confusion about all of this in the short-term volatility side, let's zoom a little bit out and look for what we can actually see. One of the primary things we would notice is, whoa, that's a monthly chart and it's a negative big candle. We had something almost similar 1st September to the entire September 2020. And that was panic move too. Because if you do notice, the total downside there was like 38%. It was a bit bigger than what we have just seen here. This is 32. So back then, the thought process was similar. Oh, the bull market is over. It's not a bull market. We're going back into the bear market. So here we are. We broke. Okay, the straight line is not looking straight. Let me just pick in a horizontal line here, drop it there. Okay. So the accumulation range here looks similar. Now let's look for how high it was from that range of breakout. The local top was like 78%. The local bottom was 20%. Now, from this breakout level, the top was like 97, close to 100, and the bottom was 38. So this was way more panic and fear than what we just had. Yes, right now, if you are new, you don't understand that. that level of panic was still visible. The amount of fear, panic, and all which we just watched in crypto reflects this range, right? And it's nothing compared to what we just experienced back in 2020 March. So the path which we came through was very difficult. The direction here, however, shows you everything. So during that drop here, those who panicked lost this ride. You don't have to try and pick the top, because this is going to be that absolute journey where maybe it's a 10x, maybe it's a 15x, but whatever it is, it will be a great ride. Now, say this time around Ether is a big cap, it's not actually going to do that 10x, it's going to do 5x. Fine, but that's still a big number for Ether. Remember, this guy started around $1,000. If it's going up to like $10,000, $15,000, that's a big target in itself. Now, that would push the alt market to the upside. Say now you exclude Ether. Fine. We're looking for a lot of volatility here. We can actually see different trend lines playing in front of us. And if you do see this, yeah, there's a lot of downside. So that's the primary trend line. The secondary trend line, however, is here. So we still have some choppy moves to reach there. That's why I was saying zoom in a little bit now. You understand the macro perspective, but price staying there before it goes back up can also mean this. Even though you may not actually put in a bigger drop, you can still do this kind of a move. Right? That's healthy. It's good. It will still go back up. We get all of this. But right now, the range looks really wild. You're looking for something like this. And that's really, really choppy. So if the price action is showing you something, wait before you go for any levered positions. And just with last 2 days, I would believe most people won't go highly levered now. Now that the market just showed that even 3x is highly levered, don't even think about the 10, 20, 30, 40x levered. Now, when you do see that on a daily chart, this is the easy part for anyone in alt market. I would argue that this is the most significant indicator right now. The strength has actually reset back down to this level. And we didn't actually see that level of panic here. And that's one of the reasons why I was saying in last cycle, this was more or less likely COVID kind of a crash. Now, earlier in the cycle, when we were forming the trend line in the RSI, we had that level tested. Right now on the daily, the volatility is so big that you're way, way lower than that. So you zoom a little bit out. You want to literally look through that and ask the question like, okay. Are we breaking through such a trend line to the downside? Right? That's going to be a serious question everyone would now ask. This is what I think is happening. So remember, on a macro chart, I showed you this and said, okay, see, the price action drops like this every now and then, and it's not attractive when you're going through that. Unless you zoom out, after that scenario passes, you don't get to understand that because it's really painful. Or else, you should have been in the market for last 3, 4, 5 years. You've seen these volatile movement and it really hurted you many times, and you're now numb to these movements. Literally, that's a lot of us, right? We have seen this many times over and over again. Now, say you're looking at the market on the weekly itself, you want to actually see what's likely. We came back down to the worst case scenario. Remember, we discussed about the worst case scenario saying we may drop to retest this range before we go back up. Now we have completed that range. And on a weekly, with that, you have this. These two highs are higher. These two highs are higher. These two lows are higher. So that's a higher low, creating this divergence. So the price action right now shows you there is something like this playing out, and a pattern which we wanted maybe is happening in front of us. Remember, last time we had a similar pattern. It was again choppy, and both times it was choppy. And I'm talking about this range. I'm talking about this price point. You literally had these choppy movements coming back down. So again, clear that. Just look at what we are watching and now go into multiple altcoins and look for which of these coins are still holding on to it. Some broke here. Okay, that doesn't look good. But those who are still inside this have a higher odds of this kind of a move. What does that really mean? It's going to be choppy inside, and we are literally going through that. So the moment you break that, you go parabolic. So how many of us would ride that after such a volatile movement? And think about this. How many of us would step out just at a break even? That's the way the market plays with your emotions. So you need to know the micro moves as well as the macro moves. And if you want to help in those for a ton of these assets, just like what we've been going through over last few months to few years, if you want all the information at the right time for the right assets, follow the SI family where we deliver a ton of value so you are not in the dark. 8 out of 10 times we are on it. As of now, that's a good thing, which means you get more value. But that also means 1 or 2 times the market just slaps you. And most likely that's things like this, where you cannot predict those guys are going to send 300, 500 missiles on a day. Otherwise, you think this market is going to give you what you want with the patience and discipline? Join the SI family using this link in the description below or on the bio on Twitter. So guys, if you received value and you have not yet smashed that like button, I would request you to do so. I'll meet you guys on next video. Bye for now.